Shoppers screamed as the pregnant woman tumbled down the marble staircase, her body crashing against each step with sickening thuds. Security guards sprinted toward her. A man in a dark jacket vanished into the crowd. But as bystanders rushed to help her, someone noticed the ring on her finger, a black and gold band that made one woman's face go pale with recognition. She whispered to the person beside her, "Oh God, she belongs to him." And that's when the mall doors opened. 4 men in black suits stepped inside, moving with military precision, parting the crowd like they owned the building. Leading them was a man whose cold expression made everyone instinctively step back. He wasn't there to shop. He wasn't there to talk. He was there because someone had just hurt his wife. And the man who pushed her had no idea he'd just declared war on the wrong family. Stay with us because what happens next will shock you. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe. And I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The Westridge Luxury Mall gleamed under the afternoon sunlight, polished marble floors reflecting designer storefronts, golden railings lining the grand staircases, soft music drifting through the air. It was the kind of place where money whispered instead of shouted. Families strolled past high-end boutiques, teenagers posed for photos near the fountain. Everything felt elegant, peaceful, safe. Catherine moved slowly through the baby clothing section on the 3rd floor, one hand resting protectively on her rounded belly. Her fitted black maternity dress highlighted her pregnancy beautifully. A diamond bracelet caught the light as she examined tiny onesies. She smiled softly, genuinely happy for the first time in years. The trauma of her past felt like another lifetime. She'd rebuilt herself, found love, found safety. Across the mall, near the electronics wing, Ethan scrolled furiously through his phone, jaw clenched, bitterness radiating from every movement. His life was unraveling, debts piling up, relationships crumbling, opportunities slipping away. And then he saw her, Catherine, his ex, the woman he'd once controlled, belittled, destroyed. She looked different now, confident, glowing, expensive, and wearing a wedding ring he didn't recognize. His blood boiled. "Another crowded Saturday," a security guard muttered to his colleague near the center staircase. "People everywhere." His partner nodded. "Holiday shopping season gets crazier every week." They watched the flow of shoppers with trained but relaxed eyes. Years of experience had taught them what to look for: nervous movements, suspicious behavior, unusual patterns. But today, nothing seemed off. Just ordinary people living ordinary lives. Catherine reached the top of the grand staircase, shopping bag in hand, ready to head down to the parking level. That's when Ethan's hand shot out, grabbing her arm. She gasped, turned, saw his face, and everything that felt safe shattered. "Ethan?" Catherine's voice came out as a whisper, disbelief mixed with fear. "We need to talk," he hissed, his grip tightening on her arm. "Let go of me! You think you can just move on like I never existed?" His eyes were wild, unhinged. Catherine tried to pull away. "Ethan, I'm pregnant. You need to—" "I can see that." His voice dripped with venom. "Whose ring is that, huh? Who did you replace me with?" "That's none of your—" And then he shoved her. Hard. Catherine's scream pierced the mall as her body pitched backward, tumbling down the marble staircase. Each impact echoed. Thud. 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 Shoppers screamed. Ethan's face went pale, realizing what he'd just done, and he ran, disappeared into the crowd like a coward. "Oh my God! Someone call 911! She's pregnant! Don't move her! Don't touch her!" People swarmed around Catherine, some pulling out phones, others just standing there in shock. A woman knelt beside her, pressing a jacket against the blood spreading across Catherine's dress. "Honey, stay with me. Help is coming." Catherine's hand clutched her stomach, tears streaming down her face. My baby! Please! My baby! That's when the woman noticed the ring, the black and gold band on Catherine's finger. Her face went pale. Oh no! Oh no, no, no! What? Another bystander asked. What's wrong? That ring, the woman whispered. Do you know what that means? Before anyone could answer, the mall's main entrance doors burst open. 4 men in black suits entered, moving with military precision. The crowd instinctively parted, and leading them was Cho Sun-jung. His face was stone, his eyes ice-cold fury. He didn't run, didn't rush. He commanded the space, and everyone felt it. Paramedics were already arriving, rushing toward Catherine with a stretcher. Cho reached her first. He dropped to one knee, and the entire chaotic scene seemed to freeze. His hand touched her cheek, so gently it was almost heartbreaking. Catherine. Her eyes fluttered open. Cho, the baby. Shh, I'm here now. You're safe. A paramedic tried to intervene. Sir, we need to... One of Cho's men stepped forward, blocking him just with his presence. The paramedic backed off immediately. Cho kissed Catherine's forehead, then stood, and the softness vanished. His eyes turned lethal. Get her to the hospital. 4 men escort. No one gets near her. Yes, sir. As paramedics loaded Catherine into the ambulance, Cho turned toward the mall security office. His enforcer held the door open. Inside, the security manager was already sweating. I have the footage ready, Mr. Cho. Cho said nothing, just stared at the screen. The footage played. Catherine at the top of the stairs, peaceful, glowing. Then Ethan appeared, grabbing her, shoving her, her body falling, tumbling, crashing. Ethan running. The room fell silent. Cho's jaw tightened, his fists curled, knuckles white. He rewound it, watched Ethan's face again, memorizing every detail. Then he straightened and whispered, "Find him." 2 words, but every man in black moved instantly, phones out, calls made, networks activated. The hunt had begun. And Ethan? He was already dead. He just didn't know it yet. Ethan didn't stop running until he was 3 blocks away from the mall. His chest heaved, sweat dripping down his face, hands shaking. What did I just do? What did I just do? He ducked into an alley, pulling out his phone with trembling fingers. No missed calls, no alerts. Maybe no one saw his face clearly. Maybe he could just disappear for a while. Let it blow over. It was an accident, he muttered to himself. She pulled away. I barely touched her. It was an accident. Even he didn't believe that. He flagged down a cab, gave an address to a cheap motel on the east side, the kind of place that didn't ask questions. By nightfall, Ethan had checked into the Riverside Inn. Peeling wallpaper, flickering lights, a bed that smelled like cigarettes and regret. He threw his hastily packed duffel bag on the floor, then sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. Okay, think. The cops might come looking. Assault charges, maybe worse if she's really hurt. He pulled out his phone. Deleted Instagram, deleted Facebook, deleted Twitter. Anything that could track him. Just lay low for a few days, maybe a week, then leave the city. He convinced himself it was a solid plan. It wasn't. What Ethan didn't know was that while he was deleting social media, Cho's men were already pulling his DMV records, his last known address, his workplace, his favorite coffee shop. They worked faster than any police department ever could, and they didn't need warrants. The next morning, Ethan moved to a different motel, the Moonlight Lodge, even cheaper, even grimier. He paid cash, used a fake name, kept his hood up. At the front desk, the clerk barely looked at him. Room 12, checkout's at 11. Thanks. Ethan grabbed the key and disappeared down the hallway. What he didn't see was the black sedan that pulled into the parking lot 5 minutes later. 2 men in suits stepped out, walked into the lobby, and showed the same clerk a photo. Has this man checked in here? The clerk's face went pale. I don't know if I should... One of the men placed 5 $100 bills on the counter. The clerk's hand moved toward the money, then hesitated. Look, man, I don't want trouble. Then don't make trouble. Just answer. The clerk swallowed hard. Room 12. Checked in 10 minutes ago. The men didn't say thank you. They just left and made a call. By the third day, Ethan was paranoid. Every time he left his motel room, he felt eyes on him. Cameras seemed to follow him everywhere. Cashiers stared a little too long. Cars slowed down when he walked past. I'm losing it. I'm paranoid. But then he overheard something. He was grabbing a coffee at a corner store when two guys behind him started talking. You hear about that thing at the mall? Yeah, crazy. Some dude pushed a pregnant lady down the stairs. Bro, that's not even the worst part. Apparently, she's connected to some syndicate. Ethan froze. Syndicate? Like Mafia? Yeah, man. Her husband's supposedly some big shot. Word is, they're tearing the city apart looking for the guy who did it. Ethan's blood ran cold. He'd heard that name before. Whispers, rumors, stories about a man you didn't cross. Ever. No, no, no! But it was too late. He was already being hunted, and the hunters were closing in. Catherine's eyes opened slowly, fluorescent lights burning into her vision. White ceiling, beeping monitors, the sharp smell of antiseptic. Hospital. She tried to sit up, and pain shot through her entire body. Ah! Mrs. Cho, please, don't move. A nurse rushed to her side. You're safe. You're in the hospital. Catherine's hand immediately went to her stomach. Her belly. Her baby. My baby. Is my baby okay? Please, please tell me. The nurse's hesitation said everything. The doctor's coming. Just try to stay calm. Calm? Catherine's voice cracked. I fell down a staircase. I need to know if my baby is... The door opened. Dr. Patel entered, clipboard in hand, face professional but somber. And that look on his face. Catherine's heart sank. Mrs. Cho, I need you to take a breath for me. Just tell me. Tears were already streaming down her face. Is my baby alive? Your baby is alive, Dr. Patel said carefully. But you've suffered significant abdominal trauma. There's bruising around the uterus, and we're detecting an irregular heartbeat. Catherine's world tilted. Irregular? We're monitoring closely. The next 24 hours are critical. If the heartbeat stabilizes, we'll be in a much better position. But right now... He didn't finish. He didn't have to. No, 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 no! Catherine sobbed. Please, you have to save my baby. Please, I'll do anything. We're doing everything we can, Dr. Patel said gently. But you need to rest. Stress won't help either of you. Rest? How was she supposed to rest when her baby might... She couldn't even finish the thought. The doctor left, and Catherine was alone, crying, one hand on her belly, whispering apologies to the child she might lose. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, baby. Mommy's so sorry. The door opened again, quietly this time. Cho stepped inside, still in his black suit, but his tie was loosened, his expression softer than she'd ever seen it. He didn't say anything. Just pulled a chair beside her bed and sat. Catherine's tears fell harder. Cho, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gone alone. I should have told you I was going to the mall. This is all my fault. Shh. His voice was so gentle it almost broke her. None of this is your fault. But if I hadn't... Catherine. He took her hand, cradling it between both of his. This is not your fault. She looked into his eyes and saw something rare. Emotion, pain, fear. The baby, she whispered. Cho, what if we lose... We won't. His jaw tightened. I won't let that happen. You can't control this. I'll do everything in my power. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead gently against hers. You and this baby are my entire world. Do you understand me?" Catherine nodded, sobbing quietly. Cho kissed her forehead, then sat back, still holding her hand. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Catherine's voice came out small, fragile. "Cho, please don't do anything you'll regret." He didn't respond. "I know you're angry. I know you want to hurt him. But please, don't let this turn into something—" "Catherine," his voice was calm, too calm. "You need to rest." "Promise me." She gripped his hand tighter. "Promise me you won't—" He kissed her forehead, cutting off her words. "I promise you'll be safe," he whispered. "I promise our baby will be safe. And I promise no one will ever hurt you again." It wasn't the promise she asked for, and she knew it. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw the truth. The decision had already been made. Ethan's fate was sealed, and nothing, she said, would change that. Cho left the hospital at midnight. His men were already waiting outside, engines running, phones buzzing with updates. He slid into the back seat of the black SUV. "Report." His second-in-command, Min Ho, turned from the passenger seat. "We've got eyes on every bus station, train terminal, and airport within 200 miles. His photo's been distributed to every contact we have." "Good." "We also pulled his employment records. He was fired 3 weeks ago. Behind on rent, no close family in the area." "He's desperate then." Cho's voice was ice. "Desperate men make mistakes." "We've got a witness from the mall," Min Ho continued. "Middle-aged woman. She got a clear look at his face before he ran. Gave us a detailed description." "Show me the footage again." Min Ho handed him a tablet. Cho watched it for the 10th time that night. Ethan's face, his movements, the way he grabbed Catherine's arm, the shove, her scream. Cho's jaw clenched tighter each time. He rewound it, watched it again, memorizing every detail, every angle, every second. "Find him," Cho said quietly. "I don't care what it costs." "Yes, sir." Across the city, Ethan was losing his mind. He'd moved motels again, this time to a run-down place near the industrial district. No windows, no reception, just a door that barely locked. He paced the tiny room, hands shaking, muttering to himself. Okay, think. Catherine probably told him about me, about the past." He ran his fingers through his greasy hair. Maybe if I explain, if I tell him it was an accident, that I didn't mean to hurt her." He actually believed that. Poor guy. Because here's the thing about men like Cho Sun-jung. They don't negotiate. They don't forgive. They don't care about your excuses. You touch what's theirs, you're done. Simple as that. Ethan grabbed his phone, hands trembling, thinking he could somehow fix this. Meanwhile, Cho's men had just traced his last credit card transaction, a gas station, 2 miles from where Ethan was hiding. Min Ho made a call. "We've got a location, mobilizing now." Cho leaned back in his seat, eyes cold, voice deadly calm. Bring him alive. The hunt was almost over, and Ethan, he still thought he could talk his way out. Cho sat in the hospital corridor, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together, staring at the floor. He hadn't slept in 36 hours, hadn't eaten, hadn't left. His men stood at either end of the hallway, silent, watching their boss unravel in a way they'd never seen before. Because Cho Sun-jung didn't break. He didn't crack. He didn't feel. But right now, he was human, and he was terrified. Inside the room, Catherine was sleeping, monitors beeping steadily, her hand resting protectively over her belly even in sleep. Cho had been watching her through the glass for hours, just watching, making sure she was still breathing, still there. Then the alarm went off. Beep, 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 beep. Cho's head snapped up. "What's happening?" He shot to his feet. Nurses sprinted into the room, doctors right behind them. "Fetal distress, heartbeat dropping." Get the ultrasound now. Mrs. Cho, can you hear me? We need you to stay calm. Catherine's eyes flew open, panic flooding her face. What's wrong? What's happening to my baby? Cho moved toward the door, but a nurse blocked him. Sir, you need to stay outside. That's my wife. His voice was low, dangerous. I understand, but right now the doctors need space to work. Please. Cho stepped back, fists clenched, jaw locked, every muscle in his body coiled like a weapon ready to strike. But there was nothing he could do, no one he could intimidate, no enemy he could eliminate. He could only watch. Through the glass, he saw them swarming around Catherine, checking monitors, running tests, speaking in rapid medical jargon he didn't understand. Catherine was crying, her hand clutching her stomach, begging them to save her baby. And Cho felt something he hadn't felt in years. Helplessness. 20 minutes later, Dr. Patel stepped into the hallway. His face was grim. Cho's heart stopped. Is she... Catherine is stable, Dr. Patel said quickly, but the baby's heartbeat is dangerously irregular. There's increased pressure on the uterus, signs of potential placental abruption. In English, doctor. Dr. Patel took a breath. The trauma from the fall caused complications. If the baby's condition doesn't stabilize in the next 24 hours, we may need to perform an emergency C-section. At this stage of pregnancy, that comes with significant risks. Cho's world tilted. How significant? The baby's lungs aren't fully developed. Survival is possible, but not guaranteed. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Unbearable. The next 24 hours are critical, Dr. Patel continued. We're doing everything we can, but right now, we wait. Cho nodded slowly. Dr. Patel left, and Cho stood there, staring through the glass at his wife, at the woman carrying his child, the child he'd prayed for, planned for, built dreams around, the child that might not survive because of one man's jealousy. Something inside Cho snapped. He pulled out his phone, dialed Min Ho. Sir? Cho's voice was quiet, controlled, lethal. Change of plans. Sir, bring Ethan to me alive. His eyes never left Catherine. I want him to understand exactly what he tried to take from me. Understood. Cho ended the call, and in that moment, Ethan's fate became something far worse than death. Ethan shoved everything into his backpack at 4 a.m. Clothes, cash, a fake ID he'd bought off some guy online. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Just get to the bus station, buy a ticket, get out of the city. He pulled his hood up, checked the window one last time, and slipped out into the darkness. The streets were empty, cold, silent. Every footstep echoed, every shadow felt alive. Ethan kept his head down, walking fast, heart hammering in his chest. Almost there. Just keep moving. The Greyhound station was a rundown building on the edge of downtown. Flickering neon sign, cracked pavement, a handful of tired travelers waiting for early morning buses. Ethan approached cautiously, scanning the area. No black SUVs, no men in suits, just normal people. He exhaled shakily. Okay, I'm good. He stepped through the entrance, and immediately, something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. The ticket clerk looked at him, then quickly looked away. A woman sitting on a bench grabbed her bag and hurried outside. Ethan's stomach dropped. No. That's when he saw them. 4 men. Black suits, standing at every exit, arms crossed, eyes locked on him. Ethan spun around, but there were 2 more behind him. He was surrounded. I didn't, his voice cracked. I didn't do anything. One of the men stepped forward, silent, expressionless. Ethan bolted. He made it 3 steps before a hand grabbed his collar and slammed him against the wall. The impact knocked the air out of his lungs. "Please, please, I can explain." They didn't speak, just held him there, waiting. And then the automatic doors slid open. The few remaining people in the station backed away instinctively, creating a path. Cho Sun-jung walked in, slow, deliberate, every step radiating authority. His suit was perfectly tailored, not a wrinkle, not a hair out of place. But his eyes were empty. Ethan's legs nearly gave out. Oh God, please, I didn't mean to." Cho raised one hand. Ethan's mouth snapped shut. The silence was deafening. Cho took 1 step closer, his voice quiet, almost a whisper. "You hurt my wife." 5 words. That's all he said. But the way he said them, cold, final, absolute, Ethan realized something in that moment. He wasn't going to jail. He wasn't getting a lawyer. He wasn't walking away. "Please," Ethan's voice broke. Tears streamed down his face. "Please, I'll do anything. I'll disappear. I'll leave the country. You'll never see me again." Cho tilted his head slightly, studying him like an insect. Then he turned to his men. "Take him." 2 enforcers grabbed Ethan by the arms, dragging him toward the exit. "No, no, please! I'm sorry! I'm sorry!" His screams echoed through the station, but no one moved. No one called the police, no one helped. Because when Cho Sun-jung came for you, there was no help coming. The doors closed behind them, and Ethan was gone. The warehouse was in the industrial district, far from streetlights, far from witnesses, far from anyone who might ask questions. Rusted metal doors screeched open. Ethan was dragged inside, still crying, still begging. "Please, please, just let me go. I'll never—" They threw him to the concrete floor. He looked up, and his blood turned to ice. The space was massive, empty, dark, except for the center, where a single light hung over a steel table. Chains bolted to the walls, stains on the floor that looked too dark to be rust, and that smell. Ethan gagged. This wasn't an office. This wasn't a meeting place. This was where people came to die. "No, no, no, no!" Cho entered behind him, footsteps echoing. He walked past Ethan without even glancing down, moved to a chair and sat. Calm, composed, terrifying. One of his men set up a laptop on the table. "Sit him up," Cho said quietly. 2 enforcers yanked Ethan to his knees, forcing him to face the screen. What are you doing?" Cho pressed play. The mall footage. Ethan watched himself grab Catherine's arm, watched her try to pull away, watched himself shove her, watched her fall, tumbling, crashing, screaming. I didn't mean—" "Watch it again." The video replayed, and again, and again. Each time, Ethan's sobs grew louder. "Please stop. Please, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Cho finally paused the video. Then he pulled up a second screen, a hospital monitor, live feed, Catherine's room, her vitals on display. And there, in the corner, the baby's heartbeat, weak, irregular, struggling, beep, beep, beep. Ethan stared at it, realization crashing over him. That's... "My child," Cho said quietly. "The child you put at risk. The child who may not survive because of what you did." Ethan broke completely. He collapsed forward, sobbing uncontrollably, snot and tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Please, I'll do anything." Cho stood, walked toward him. Ethan flinched, expecting a blow. But Cho didn't touch him, didn't hit him, didn't raise his voice. He just looked down at him with complete and utter contempt. "You don't get to apologize," Cho said softly. "You don't get to beg. You don't get redemption. Please, You hurt the woman I love. You endangered my child. And now, Cho turned toward his men. Make him disappear. The enforcers moved instantly. Ethan screamed, "No, wait, please, I'll leave the country. I'll turn myself in, anything." But Cho was already walking toward the exit. He didn't look back, didn't flinch at the screams, didn't hesitate. Because men like Cho Sun-jung didn't lose sleep over justice, they delivered it. The warehouse doors slammed shut behind him, and the screaming stopped. Outside, Cho lit a cigarette, the first one he'd had in years. His hands were steady, his expression calm. Min-ho approached cautiously. "It's done, sir." Cho nodded, took a long drag, exhaled slowly. "Clean it up. No trace." "Yes, sir." Cho flicked the cigarette into the dirt, crushed it under his shoe, and got into the car. He had somewhere more important to be. Catherine was waiting. Cho walked back into the hospital just as the sun was rising, still in the same suit, still composed, but different somehow, quieter. He moved through the corridors like a ghost, past nurses, past security, straight to Catherine's room, and stopped at the doorway. She was awake, sitting up slightly, one hand on her belly, staring out the window. The monitor beside her bed beeped steadily. Beep, beep, beep. The baby's heartbeat. Stronger now. Stable. Cho's chest tightened. He stepped inside quietly. Catherine turned, and their eyes met. For a long moment, neither spoke. She studied his face, sensing something. Something had changed. Something darker, but calmer, like a storm that had finally passed. "Is it over?" she whispered. Cho crossed the room, sat in the chair beside her bed, and gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Yes," he said softly, "he will never hurt you again." Catherine's eyes filled with tears. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. She just knew. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. Cho leaned forward, kissed her forehead, then rested his hand on her belly. Beneath his palm, he felt movement, small, gentle, their child, alive, fighting. His jaw tightened, not with anger this time, but with something deeper, purpose. He looked at Catherine, then down at her belly, and made a silent vow. No one would ever threaten them again. No one would ever make her cry. No one would put his family at risk. Because Cho Sun-jung had spent his entire life building an empire. But now he realized this was what he'd been building it for. Not power, not control, not fear. This. His wife, his child, his family, and he would protect them with every breath, every resource, every ounce of ruthlessness he possessed. The monitor beeped steadily beside them. Beep, beep, beep. Catherine squeezed his hand. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Cho said, and for the first time in days, he allowed himself to breathe. Here's what this story teaches us. Your past doesn't get to define someone else's future. Ethan thought he still had power over Catherine, thought he could control her, hurt her, walk away. But he didn't realize she'd moved on, built a new life, found someone who valued her, and when he tried to drag her back into his chaos, he paid the ultimate price. Sometimes the people you underestimate are connected to forces you can't even imagine. Treat people with respect, not because of who they are, but because you never know who's protecting them. All right, real talk. If you watched this entire story, got invested in Catherine's survival, Cho's revenge, Ethan's downfall, and you still haven't subscribed, you're telling me you're okay with freeloading? You're worse than Ethan thinking he could just run away from his actions. At least he tried to escape. You're just sitting there, watching for free, not even clicking a button. Shameless. So here's the deal. Subscribe, like this video, drop a comment with your country so I know you're real. Because if you don't, you're basically saying you don't respect the work. And that's worse than anything Ethan did. Don't be that person. Subscribe now.